Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and while I've attempted to record this video a few times both yesterday and today, I'll admit that I can't ever seem to strike the proper tone. Sometimes I come across as too condescending, sometimes way too antagonistic, and one time I managed conciliatory, which is the absolute last message I would want to convey in this particular instance. In the end, I sat down and decided that I would put any scripting and talking points aside and just start talking. Now, if there's anything that I've learned over the course of the past few days, it's that when I just let the words come to me, they tend to resonate with people a lot more, and I think that's valuable because I'm not just some form of YouTube news reporter, journalist, critic, pundit, or any of that. I'm a gamer first and foremost, and it's my love of video games and my opinion that I had something worthwhile to contribute that got me started on this path to begin with. And so I think I'll just stick with the basics. I'll let you know what has happened, why, and what I think about it, and just let the chips fall where they may. A bit of a long preamble, I know, but I also don't think it would be in keeping if I didn't ramble on for a minute or more before I finally settled down and got to the point. And the point is a question that I've been mulling around in my head for the past couple of days ever since Sir Violent Death brought it up. And that question is, when does someone deserve a second chance and when do they not? And while I realize that it is a very fluid question and can only be resolved in a case-by-case basis, I feel that it's one that people in my position don't ask nearly often enough. There have been times where it actually turned out that the particular developer in question did deserve a second chance and they were able to put out a decent game that people were able to enjoy, and I think that's the best that we can hope for. But there are times where a person hasn't earned that second chance, but how do we decide that? And more importantly, what if we're wrong? What then? Now, I'm speaking, of course, about a recent incident with Berdyev, formerly of BC Interactive, Elusive Team, Red Square Studios, and all the other sock puppet accounts that Berdyev had created during his stint on the Steam storefront. During his time there, he released a large number of asset flips, as well as exceptionally low-effort and low-quality products, while maintaining a very active Russian gray market key sales site in which he peddled his asset flip wares in order to feed other asset flippers, Steam trading card farmers, as well as potentially his own bot farms. He graced us with such titles like Dead Inside and Space Odyssey, and of course his most infamous title that ended up becoming the straw that broke the camel's back, Piccled Ricc. Now, that game was removed from the Steam storefront due to a DMCA takedown strike owing to the game's character and name being modeled after a Rick and Morty joke, which is fine under normal circumstances, but when you try to sell something like that for money, you get into copyright infringement territory pretty quickly, and owing to Berdyev's abusive behavior to his own customers, to say nothing of myself and other content creators like I Am Patty Jack and of course Big Fry TV, whom Berdyev employed downvote botting to try and affect Big Fry's channel metrics, anyone and everyone that had encountered Berdyev and his exceptionally despicable behavior had an axe to grind to varying degrees. Now, I myself have a long and very antagonistic history with Berdyev, covering a good number of his asset flips, and our altercations were apparently much discussed in the Steam developer forums for a time. So it was no small amount of relief for many of us when Berdyev finally got the boot. He of course persisted, attempting to tell everyone that he'd learned his lesson and attempted to start a petition to get Valve to take him back, failing to understand that all any of us are to Valve are walking dollar signs, and his dollar sign had a minus symbol in front of it. He also went so far as attempting to promote Piccled Ricc Game Jolt keys on the Steam discussion threads, which lasted about as long as you might expect. Well, it would seem that a couple of days ago, Berdyev tried to weasel his way back onto the Steam storefront under the developer name Resurrected. Now, this was noticed by Sir Violent Death, whose online sleuthing abilities would put Sherlock Holmes to shame, and the chain of identification was easily established by the account emails. The Resurrected developer email you see was listed as obamashow@gmail.com, which a quick search found it matched the listed email address for Berdyev's VK and YouTube accounts. VK, if you're not aware, is basically Russian Facebook. And then there was also the matter of a tiny little visual clue that Berdyev posted on his public Twitter profile, and as you can imagine, this caused a bit of a stir in our little corner of the internet. Now, Mello Online, the head of Sentinels of the store, made use of his Valve contacts to reach out to them and inform them that this Resurrected developer was in fact Berdyev, and he received their typical response back. They informed Mello that they would look into it, and sure enough, a very short time later, like an orbital bombardment strike straight out of Command & Conquer, Valve nuked the developer account from orbit, leaving nothing in its wake, and many of us were saying good riddance. But then it was Surviolent Death that posed the question to me that, while I said it was ultimately Valve's decision and there's not much else we can do about it outside of notifying them, it still stuck with me. And when does someone deserve a second chance, and could Berdyev potentially have fallen into that category? Well, ultimately, my answer is no, and I'll tell you why. Now, I will admit that honest mistakes can and do happen, but there are certain behavioral characteristics that indicate why and why not a person in Berdyev's shoes would deserve a second chance. Now, let's look at what you would expect from someone to say and do when they just made an honest mistake and want to keep making games. Now, first off, the personality you see exhibited is different. Now, a person like that typically is not condescending. They're not arrogant, they're not antagonistic or vitriolic or spiteful. They don't downvote a person's channel like Berdyev did to Big Fried TV. They don't collude with other asset flippers and bad actors like Andrew Watts and Alex Maurer to try and take a YouTube channel down like what nearly happened with my channel. They don't deliberately try to cause harm is what it boils down to. They typically admit their mistake, they own up to it, and try to do better in the future. And with people like that, you can usually detect an earnestness about them that shows the passion and the drive they have for creating games for people to enjoy. And it's people like that that truly do deserve a chance to learn from their mistakes and to grow from them. But then there are people like Berdyev, a person who cares nothing for the content he produces, who cares nothing about the quality of the products he sells, because at the end of the day, legitimate game purchases are mere icing on the cake for his gray market key sales. Now, a person like Berdyev will say a lot, but only insofar as it goes to protect his own motivations and self-interest to the exclusion of all else. Now, he doesn't care that he's acted in bad faith. He doesn't even care that he's broken the law and has deliberately duped and misled his customers on numerous occasions. He only cares that he got caught, and that by his getting caught, his gravy train is derailed. So no, I really don't think Berdyev or others like him are worthy of a second chance. Him and those like him have proven and continue to prove that they are not worthy of your time or your money, and their mere existence on a digital storefront only serves to take visibility away from game developers that are working for more than an easy way to print some money while doing little to no work at all. And don't get me wrong, it's getting harder for anyone to actually make money on the Steam platform unless you are a larger developer, an asset flipper, very lucky, or Valve itself. Now, the golden age of indies is all but over, and I hate to say it, but Valve, in combination with asset flippers and the plethora of indie developers themselves, have killed it. And that's a much larger topic in and of itself, though, and I won't go into it here, but people like Berdyev only serve to dilute what little potential there is left for true indie devs to make their mark, and I don't feel at all sorry that he got booted once again. But as always, please do let me know what you think about all of this down below. Am I being too critical of Berdyev due to his actions against myself and my friends, or do you think I'm right about all of this? I'm interested to read your thoughts. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time.